Hello guys, welcome to Storytimes. Thanks for joining us. Today we've got a brand new story to share with you. Support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. I promise, even more interesting stories. The crystal mobile above glittered like judging eyes as the toast ended and the applause softened into a quiet murmur. It was her father who raised his glass first, to Serafina, the mistress of reinvention and the one who sustained their family, even her husband. The room rippled with polite laughter. I chuckled too. I had to. My wife, Serafina, leaned over, her perfectly painted nails guiding a slice of chocolate toward onto my plate. Not gently, not affectionately, but like she was discarding leftovers to a stray. Her gaze locked onto mine, a smile too wide to be genuine, and she whispered under her breath, "You'll obey me, or you'll end up with nothing but memories, even of Julian, or start packing." I didn't blink, didn't flinch. I simply stared at the woman I once believed I'd grow old beside. I smiled because that's what she expected. I clapped along with the others, nodding at her father's words as the roaring in my ears drowned out everything else. I looked like the devoted husband in every photograph that night. Serafina ensured it. But inside me something ancient fractured. The next morning I was gone. No note about loving her, no final confrontation, just a cream-colored sticky note on the fridge. Keep the house. I'm keeping my sanity. And that was the beginning, not of heartbreak, not of loss, but of awakening. By the time I landed in Austin, my phone had exploded. 187 missed messages, 35 calls, all from Serafina. My name trended in her world the moment she realized I wasn't following her script anymore. Her initial messages were poison. "Where the hell are you? You can't just vanish like this. Get back here now, or it's over." Then came the shift. "My darling, please, I didn't mean those things. It was just a joke. A moment of pressure. I adore you. We can repair this." She was unraveling. But I let the phone die in my hand and silenced every notification. I needed quiet. I needed space. I checked into a modest 2-star motel near Lady Bird Lake. The room smelled faintly of stale coffee and sunshine, and the bed groaned with every breath I took. It was perfect. There's a silence you don't realize you're craving until you finally experience it. I sat on the edge of the bed, gazing at the water stains on the ceiling, reliving every glaring sign I had deliberately ignored. Serafina had been drifting away from me for over a year. It wasn't obvious at first. She was skilled in charm, fluent in deception, new marketing clients, late nights at industry events, a yoga instructor named Brett who inexplicably sent her late-night meditation recordings. But the first real crack appeared on a Tuesday. She came home late again and kissed me without warmth. Her perfume was different, not the scent I bought her for our birthday. It was sharper, more citrusy. She smiled, her thoughts clearly elsewhere. "Just a demanding day," she said, brushing past me. "You wouldn't understand, Julian." Then came the password-protected tablet, the new phone lock, the cleared call logs. And one night, a blend of curiosity, denial, and a creeping dread led me to her tablet while she showered. Her cloud hadn't synced recently, and that's where I saw them. Photos: Marcus, Owen, thin different men, different smiles. Serafina had no type. She simply had appetites. There was even a short video clip of her, half-dressed in my anniversary shirt, posing in front of a hotel mirror with one of them behind her, both laughing. A voice note chilled me to the bone. "Julian, he's a placeholder, safe, predictable. He needs me more than I need him." She was wrong. I didn't need her. I just hadn't acknowledged it yet. By midnight, I had emailed every piece of digital filth to myself and secured it behind a folder labeled Project Freedom. That night in Austin, I renamed it Serafina Downfall. Then I called Liam, my closest friend, and, more importantly, a cybersecurity consultant who owed me immensely for helping him navigate a messy partnership dispute years ago. I need everything on her phone: backups, cloud data, deleted messages, surveillance if necessary. He said 2 words, "Consider it done," and I went for a walk in the midnight air, not to ponder, but to feel unburdened for the first time. I spent the next day watching the rain streak down the window of an Austin coffee shop, sipping a bitter brew, feeling more alive than I had in years. Serafina's silence didn't last long. By mid-afternoon, my rarely checked secondary email inbox was overflowing. That's where I found the email. Subject: "You're not the only one." No greeting, no signature, just a line that read, "She's been playing everyone, not just you." Look at this. Attached was a zipped folder titled The Truth About Serafina. I hesitated it could be a trap, a scam, but I trusted the ache in my gut. Pain sharpens your senses. I downloaded the file onto an offline laptop. Inside, screenshots, private messages, video recordings from various hotel security cameras. Serafina hadn't just been unfaithful. She was strategic. She had overlapping relationships, meticulously planned timelines, and a repertoire of lies deployed with the precision of a seasoned performer. There was a guy named Dante, a musician who believed he was her secret love, a married architect named Julian, ironically, who had gifted her an expensive watch on the same day she told me she was visiting her ailing grandmother, even a junior associate named Noah who looked barely out of college. The worst part? She sent them my photos, told them I was her brother. In one audio file, she laughed and said, "Julian's harmless. He's like a roommate with nice arms." That's when I stopped trying to understand and started plotting to dismantle everything. That night, Liam's voice was gleeful. "She's sloppy, man. Really sloppy." I got deleted backups from 4 different apps, cloud mirror syncs, even her fake social media where she posts independent woman content. "You want it all. Every last bite." "Every bite," I replied. By midnight, I had a digital replica of Serafina's double life. That's when I called Simone my divorce attorney. I didn't want subtle. I didn't want a peaceful separation. I wanted firepower. "She threatened your security, gaslit you in front of her family, weaponized infidelity, and meticulously documented her own downfall," Simone said. "She's not just beatable. She's utterly destructible." Music to my ears. Back in Seattle, Serafina tried new tactics. Her texts turned sentimental. "Do you remember our hike on Battlesnake Ledge? How you held my hand on the slippery parts? You always made me feel safe. Please don't turn this into a war." But I had already transformed into a chess game, and she was cornered. I didn't respond. Instead, I did what Serafina never anticipated. I started becoming the version of myself she had buried. I took long bike rides along the Burke-Gilman Trail. I cleared out our shared storage unit, keeping only my grandfather's old telescope, my collection of vintage maps, and a novel she once dismissed as too intellectual to finish. I devoured it in a single sitting. I stopped flinching when I heard her name, stopped believing she was extraordinary. Then came the real twist. Liam called again. "Julian, she's trying to rewrite everything. Social media, friends, even HR at her company. She's telling people you cheated, that you were emotionally abusive, that she discovered your secret online gambling habit." I exhaled slowly. She was rewriting history because she knew the ending. It was time to go public, but not with rage, with truth. I created an anonymous online document, sanitized, no names, no faces, just the timeline, the receipts, the lies, the manipulation. It spread within her industry like wildfire. Her empowered woman image vanished by the weekend. Serafina was calling my friends, crying, screaming, apologizing. Even Brett, the yoga instructor, DM'd me. "Dude, I had no idea. She said you guys were separated." "Sorry." I didn't reply. I was too busy moving into my new loft, small, unpretentious, with furniture I chose. No lingering perfume, no monogram towels with a name I resented seeing. I sat on the floor the first night with takeout Thai food, silence surrounding me. It wasn't just peace. It was liberation. But Serafina wasn't finished. The next day, she called Mr. Davies, my former boss, told him I'd been violent, said I'd snapped the night I left. It was her final card, the smear campaign, but I had already built my defense. Recorded calls, time-stamped messages, witnesses who saw her belittle me in public. Mr. Davies called me privately. "Julian, I don't believe her story, but people talk. I have proof," I told him, "and it's backed up in multiple locations." He paused. "That's enough. She tried to destroy my reputation, but she didn't know I had already rebuilt it without her." By the end of the week, I received a message from Serafina's legal team. She was willing to settle quietly, no alimony, no contest. She wanted it to end before more came out. Simone asked if I wanted to counter. "No," I said. "Let her sign. Let her taste the bitterness of loss." It was raining again the night Serafina showed up at my building. No makeup, hair in a messy knot. A hoodie swallowed her frame. Her eyes were hollow. I could tell she hadn't slept, and it wasn't because she was mourning me. It was because she had finally confronted the wreckage of her choices. "Julian," she whispered as I opened the door. "Please, I have nowhere else to go. I didn't move. She stepped forward, her voice trembling. I've been suspended from work. Julian's wife served me papers. People are calling me a fraud. I said nothing. I'm sorry, she choked. I know I was cruel. I thought I was protecting myself. I didn't think you'd actually leave. That's the problem, I said flatly. You never thought I was capable of anything unless it benefited you. She tried again. Just let me in. Just for tonight. I need to breathe, please. I reached behind the door and picked up the overnight envelope Simone had sent. Final divorce terms with updated asset splits based on her crumbling career. Serafina's hand trembled as she took it. What's this? Closure. She scanned the pages, and her face contorted. You're actually going to take everything? She asked. The loft? The accounts? Even Leo? No, I said. You gave it all away. I'm just collecting what's left of my dignity. The silence between us stretched. Then she tried one last time. I miss who we were. I don't, I replied. She didn't sign the papers that night, but she left, and I knew she'd be back because, for once, I was the one in control. 3 days later, the envelope returned, signed. The signature was barely legible, as if written while shaking or weeping. I opened it while sitting on the balcony of my new place, wrapped in a blanket, watching the city lights. I didn't feel triumph, didn't feel rage. I felt clean. The divorce was final. Serafina Vance was no longer a name attached to mine. She was a phantom with expensive habits and a knack for destroying everything she touched. And I was whole again. But she didn't fade quietly. She started posting throwback photos on social media, wedding moments, vacation memories, carefully curated images to portray a woman who had been abandoned. Every caption was a poisoned arrow wrapped in sentimentality. Some people forget too easily. I was the villain in his story, but the love in real life, he gave up on us. The comments were brutal. Girl. We saw the Julian video. Sit down. Love doesn't include side pieces. You fumbled a good man. Congrats. Her image shattered. Her followers dwindled. Even her supposed best friend, Chloe, blocked her after Serafina tried to drag her into her pity party. It wasn't just a social implosion. It was a social annihilation. But something in me still lingered questions I hadn't answered. Not about her. About me. How had I let it go on for so long? Why did I stay after the first red flag? Why did I allow her to diminish me? So, I started therapy, weekly quiet sessions where I unlearned the lies I'd lived with. I learned to trust my instincts again. Learned that love isn't supposed to feel like manipulation dressed in compliments. I also started journaling every morning before work. Coffee in hand. Music low. The entries began bitter but slowly evolved into clarity. I don't miss her. I wrote one day. I miss who I thought she was. But I've realized that person never existed. And then came Olivia. We met at a record store. A bit cliché perhaps, but it felt like the universe offering me a second chance wrapped in a vintage band tee and a warm smile. She wasn't flashy. She didn't enter a room seeking validation. She asked me what I was browsing. I said it was a classic album I'd never truly appreciated. She laughed and said, "Sounds like a relationship I was in." We had coffee, then dinner, then long walks through Discovery Park where she told me about her last relationship. Another manipulator. Another narcissist with a charming facade and cutting words. There was no pretense. We were two hearts learning to heal together. Serafina called me once more. A block number late at night. I didn't answer, but she left a voicemail. I know you've moved on. I see you smiling in pictures now with her. That used to be me. I never thought I'd say this, but I hope she's better. Because if she's not, you'll end up back where you started. I didn't save it. Didn't need to. Because she was wrong again. I wasn't back where I started. I was exactly where I belonged. 6 months. That's how long it had been since Serafina signed the final divorce papers and became a footnote in my past. Not a scar. Just a lesson etched into memory. I didn't relocate, didn't change my name, didn't disappear. I stayed right in Seattle, in the same city where she paraded her infidelities. Where people used to whisper behind my back, "Poor Julian, he's lucky to have her." Now they said nothing because she had nothing left to weaponize. And I had nothing left to fear. Life after her wasn't just better. It was authentic. I woke up every morning in a space I curated. Walls painted in calming blues and grays. Furniture I selected without needing approval. The telescope she once told me was childish now stood proudly by the window. And Olivia, she wasn't a rebound. She was evidence that love doesn't need to be a performance to be profound. One night, I shared my story with her, not in a dramatic monologue, but in pieces. She listened, truly listened. And when I was finished, she said, "You weren't broken. You were buried." The first time we cooked together, she asked me to season the pasta. I froze. Serafina never let me cook. She said I disrupted her flow. "You okay?" Olivia asked gently. "Yeah," I replied. "Just muscle memory." She didn't pry. She simply handed me the salt, and something unclenched in my chest. It was a small gesture, but it mended something significant. Serafina, meanwhile, receded into whispers. Her apology tour failed. Her job was never reinstated. Even the friends she tried to manipulate eventually saw the truth, because when someone loses everything and still blames everyone else, you eventually realize they were the problem all along. She tried dating again. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that the man she bragged about was gone in 3 weeks. Apparently, he stumbled upon the same digital archive Liam had compiled, the comprehensive record of her deceit. She had recycled her lies, her tactics, her manipulations, but now they were ineffective because the world wasn't fooled anymore. One evening, I received a letter, handwritten, no return address. It was from Serafina. The writing was shaky, the corner stained as if held by a trembling hand. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I wasn't always this person. I don't know when I became her. I hope you forget me someday, but I hope you remember who you are now because that man is extraordinary." I read it twice. Then I fed it to the fireplace, not out of animosity, but out of closure because I didn't need her validation anymore. Now, when people ask about my past, I don't hide it, don't embellish it either. I say I loved someone who didn't love me the same way. I stayed too long, believed too deeply, but I left, and that saved me. If you're reading this, if you're someone trapped in a version of what I endured, here's what I'll tell you. You're not weak for loving someone who didn't deserve it, but you will become strong the moment you stop allowing them to define your worth. Love is not loyalty at the expense of your self-respect. Love doesn't feel like fear. Love doesn't demand silence. If they humiliate you publicly, degrade you privately, threaten your security, and twist apologies into performances, leave. You will survive. Not just that, you will thrive. Some nights, when the rain drums against the windows, I recall how she used to feign tears, how she weaponized vulnerability, how she played the victim until the applause died. But then Olivia shifts beside me in bed, presses her lips to my shoulder, and whispers softly, "You okay?" And I realize I don't live in that world anymore. I'm not surviving Serafina. I'm living without her. And that's the victory she'll never. Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.